iRacing.
A vintage championship that has itself only a couple of rounds to decide a champion now needs to head to a place where a vintage driver looks over the top of all of them and says great racing still can always be found around this place. That legend is Jim Clark. The place is the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg, and this is where championships need to find results late on in. At Hockenheim, it is simple. It's a track that blends the old with the new and creates the hybrid that everyone needs to be on best behavior with. My name's Jake Sperry. Along with me in the booth for today's action is Craig King as we sit and watch with Daniel Costello in the director's chair, Dougie Beard providing the camera packs here for us. But to this circuit and to indeed what makes this circuit so difficult. It's a throwback and also a modern circuit, so keep your eyes out on what makes it great with RGSRC Track Guide.
Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your tastes in racing at this fantastic venue.
So the Hockenheimring, a circuit that has itself all sorts of heritage to go with when it opened back in 1932. And so you're looking around and saying, where are you going to get the moves? Obviously, the Spitzkehrer at turn 6 is going to be key, but I would worry about traffic heading into the old stadium section, which has not been changed for much of a long time. From 11 over to the Sud curve at 16, you are pretty much single file.
Yeah, and to be fair, I'm a retro man, Jake. I love the original, the old track back from 92 to 2001. That's how I grew up watching F1. But we haven't got that today. But to replace it, we've got the Parabolica down to turn 5. That's basically what you get replaced with. Instead of 2 long runs into the forest, you've got that long run to the Parabolica. And of course, that turn 6 at the Spitz curve, that can be very dangerous, not just in multi-class, but when making overtakes. So it's going to be the danger zone today. You talk about single file traffic. I say that section through 8, 9, and 10, there is a way to do some overlapping, but I feel that it's a bit too tight to do the overlapping with just how the quick left-right goes in there. And there is that runoff you'll see later on, but it's not enough for you to really abuse because off-tracks and slowdowns are doable here. Realistically, Jake, if it was me, I'd say let's get rid of the stadium section. This is vintage. Let's just go flat out and just not have that stadium section.
Right, let's talk flat out and what has been flat out then for these championships, because there are some very interesting stories that need to be told here. So in GTP, it is Jacob Reed versus Aldris Valentarius, but here's the catch. Aldris is in a GTO today, so that makes all the difference with Christophe Jacques 3rd and Gabriel Martinez 4 split by just 1 point. Following that then is Jack Wells and Brendan Lynn with Henning Schwebig 7th, Davide Riccardi in 8th, then Fabian Youngbluth and Laust Olsen making up your top 10 in GTP. So there's a spanner in the works as GTO's title is still to be decided.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, Johan van Hicks had been leading the championship until the drama last week, and now he's 14 points behind Noel Lundberg, who leads in the latest, I think, ever for himself when it comes to the GTO Championship. So that's going to be one to watch out for. Joni Hagner, he's managed to get his iRacing credits this year, but he's still there battling in for third and actually an outside look at the championship. Rest of the drivers not really looking in for the podium, though. Mickey Friesen in fourth on his own there. Josh Brain and Doug Cloud battling out for fifth. Ian Haycock, who are a very respectable seventh. Ika Costa-Salo comes into eighth, trying to hold off to the rest of the top 10. Andreas Schuster is ninth, and Jack David Spickett, even with one victory, is just rounding out the top 10.
Yep, so JDS is looking to try and move up the order as and when he turns up, but it is his prerogative to when he wants to race, as we are at round 10 of 12. Just the hour to deal with today around the clock, so it's a bit longer of a race. They are on open setups. There are no spare cars available to them. A drive-through comes through at 17 instant points. There are penalties then that come through at 25, and at 25 is the disqualification limit, so you'll be out of the race, chucked away as far as that goes. So keep it in mind as the race then will look to set itself up. The first times are starting to find themselves on the board, so anyone who is looking to prove what they've got is there. But if you want to get on the board, we're in the biggest iRacing sale of the year. It is Black Friday all the way through to December 2nd, and you can get 50% off of any new membership and then 25% off of early renewal and reactivation. Head to iRacing.com/Black Friday to get your deal sorted. Craig, 8 minutes, 2 laps, quali's underway.
Yeah, quali's underway. We've got a couple surprises at the top of both classes, because Henning Swebeg is pole position in the GTPs, and Willy Roller, it's an interesting name, back again is pole position in the GTOs, or provisional at the moment. Milo Dechari just going up as well, but here's the man everyone wants to look at, the number 1 car, Valenteus, who he did do some GTP driving earlier this week. He decided he wanted to do some GTO driving, and right away, without any practice that we know of, 1200ths behind Willy Roller to start his first lap. And just look at the amount of curb they're using and the amount of speed they're having to scrub off there at the Nord curve.
Yeah, they're really having to be careful because it is a downforce-dependent corner, turn number 1. You're seeing the differences out there on track. Gabri Martinez now on top on a 23.188, but Valente is second, Mickey Friesen in third, and we focus with car number 2, Jacob Reed, who will be using today's running here in the series right now, the IMSA Vintage series, to deal with the fact that he is now no longer the champion of the iRacing Grand Prix World Tour. He lost that title today, yesterday evening over to Eduardo Radice, and so he'll be looking to put all of his eggs into this basket.
He's in a good place when you think about it. Valenteus having a couple bad weeks. He's already had one drop week. He's going to take another drop week, and that's all he'll have to write home. So Valenteus, I think he's just using this just to get his bad track out the way, because earlier this week in a hot split, Valenteus Reed battling hard, and then Valenteus, as Jacob Reed darts in, he's got to start from the pit lane. I was just talking about the pit lane as Lesnar Jack comes into pole position. But yeah, Valenteus got an unsafe pit entry. Something we'll have to watch out for later in the race, Jake. And I think that just spoiled his chance and decided, no, I'm just going to stick in these cars for a moment. Is he going to get pole position? Or Lesnar Jack will take pole position for the GTP. Valenteus, yeah, he gets that pole position in the GTOs.
Yeah, 1/10 of a second better, and a big slide through the corner just to prove he can. Out there, Josh Brain on a second lap then, down in 12th position here on a 37.6. So he is 1.2 seconds adrift, and now trying to work his magic through the middle sector, now in towards turn 7, and this colloquially there with the AMG banner up there on the top of that massive stand is known as the AMG corner. So now working through the Mercedes section, and now for turn 9, this massive right-hander taking at just about 145 clicks, now working back along the straight, which is used sometimes here in Germany for drag racing, and now into the stadium section once again, the old course and that very tough braking zone of the Sachs curve.
Yeah, into the sack curve. A little bit of camber as well there. That can catch some drivers off if you're not used to it. And now we go through these final S's. The quick right-hander, you do have that run-off, but you don't want to use it there. And now the sud curve. What is he going to do? Tries to cut that corner as tight as he can. Use all the runoff he can, even the green. Josh is going to come across the line with a 37.197. It's enough to put him into the top 10. In fact, he ties with Jack Wells, but Jack said his time first.
Yeah, so Jack Wells did enough that he needed to get the time in better than Josh Brain, but it is going to be a shake-up here in qualifying, and we'll take a look at how the grid will stack here around this place. It will be Christophe Lenajak in pole position, a 122.9 in the Nissan GTPs, with Gabriel Martinez second, Henning Schwebeck and Ferran Grau on the third and fourth positions. It's then Anders Sandberg and Fabian Youngblood fifth and sixth, with Davide Riccardi and Brendan Lim seventh and eighth positions. Fabio Dam is there in ninth. The Austrian with Ivan Alesiuk Ayuso then rounding out the top 10. Going down the category, got Emilio Dechari, Pedro Barbosa, Matthew Cockram and Gianluca Gabbiani, with the four that didn't set a time split by their iRacing. Jacob Reed, the championship leader, Manuel Novoa, Andres Felipe Diaz, and Federico Gaglioli, then who will have to try and work through the field from 18th as it is now Craig with GTO.
Yeah, Valenteus into the GTOs today. He takes pole position away from Veli Roller, who's in P2, Noel Lundberg in third, Mickey Friesen fourth with Joni Hagner fifth, Andreas Schuster will be sixth, Cal Young seventh, and Van Hicks an unfortunate eighth. Jack Wells and Josh Brain tie, but Wells said his first. He'll be ninth, and Brain will be 10th. Into page 2, Timothy Reed will be 11th, with Arturas Kundalis down in 12th, followed by Doug Cloud in that unlucky 13th. Roman Bello will be 14th. Ian Haycox takes that 15th, with Sammy Uveren in 16th. Then our junior leader, Brandon White, will be 17th, with Martin Krajcik in 18th. Forban Pollock will be 19th, with Joni Berg 20th. And just to round out the last three drivers, Henry Viamaki will be 21st. Carl Smith, the last of the time qualifiers, with Peter DeFeo in that unlucky 23rd position.
Wow. To work through around this place, you're going to need patience, and you're going to need this race to open up in a way that will make life so easy. So now, as they are trying to work on where they are getting this sorted, they are going to try and do everything they can to move on forward and get an absolutely strong showcase out there of great racing. But they will know that with this short run that they are going to have to make a stop in this race. So if there was any time to have a bad qualifying, today would have been the perfect time. And so as this all sets itself up, I would start looking around at those who are maybe thinking maybe they're 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, that there can be positions that make themselves up, but also how quickly the lapping process will begin on an 83-second lap.
Yeah, and the one thing we haven't also talked about is the track conditions out there, because it's a 20 Celsius track temp, it's 68 Fahrenheit. It's starting to warm up. It's the morning here, and the wind isn't really too much of an issue. It's 16 kilometers south. But the problem is this track is at an angle. So that south, you're going to have a side wind basically through the whole track today. So you just have to put that to the side of your mind and start thinking about those overtaking opportunity. You know where the places are tight around here. You know where the places are safe. And you've also got to realize that while you're battling your own battles, you've got other battles to go. As they've got a few more corners to go, Jake. This is going to be a very entertaining hour.
It will be, and so the format and the placement is going to be needed on Christophe Lenajak, who is in control of this field, with Gabriel Martinez there alongside. Set yourself up ready. This is going to be where the hour brings itself to play. Lenajak gets the jump perfect on the green flag, and we're underway. Ferran Grau will now look to push it almost 3 wide into turn 1 at the Nord curve, and they're almost going to slam against each other there as Grau puts himself around the outside of Schwebig. No problems then as Jacob Reed makes good progress off the start. It's now GTO time. One car around there in the back.
Yeah, one car around the back. I think that's Roman Bello, who's had a moment. Arturas Kundalis has had a moment as well. Rest of the field just keeping single file, but they are now trying to fan into overtaking. Mickey Friesen getting past Joni Hagner. Cal Young getting past Andreas Schuster. Drivers that really want to make some moves. If they come down to the Parabolica, GTP's already bite, but look at the fanning. Everyone trying to take a different line to break the toe in the GTOs. Jack Wells has made a few good places up already. Well, he's down 3, sorry. Sammy Uvenen's up 3 already, though.
Yeah, so there is progress and placement that has been found time and time again. But if you get yourself in line, oh, and there's a spin in the back. 1, 2, 3, and Haycox is caught in that one. So that's going to take a number of names out. Brandon White, 36, is turned around, and Arturas Candelis, I think, may have just about got away with it out there. It was the 10 of Jack Wells who was the initial spinner.
Yeah, I think Sammy Uvenen got a little bit spooked with some driving taking different lines and just missed on his gears watching Gabriel Martinez, and that just allowed him to take the inside, catching a couple other drivers. I think that was the number 8 of Brandon White. Arturas Candelis got caught out in it. Big time incident there. Brandon White, remember, junior leader. It's in the GTO, so that's a bit of a hit for him. That big lead he's got is not going to happen. Big gap here for Gabriel Martinez to try and make the move on a Lesnar track. Does not work, but he's compromised here, Jake. This might be a run down into the Spitz curve, just with the way he compromised him through Boney Eccleston.
Yeah, turn 2 was named so much last year, actually, that corner, and here comes the drive for Gabri, side by side with his main rival for that 3rd place in the championship. He gets it stopped on a dime at the Spitzkehrer, and now off of the exit, it's Elena Jacques now giving chase. Gabri Martinez now takes control of the field, so a good move as we take a look back. This is what it happened to Jack Wells heading to the Spitzkehrer. Haycox was trying to lunge down the inside, and look, he's got no steering angle through the middle of the corner. You have to leave room for cars on the inside.
Yeah, and also with just the fact that he also had those cars on the outside, there wasn't really a lot of places for Jack to open up that steering to go on, and that's what caused a lot of the issues. Some of those drivers have still got going. They're just going to take the damage around. Jack Wells taking a tow. We're on board with Joni Hagner. We're looking at Joni Hagner, and he's just trying to work his way. Late braking onto Schuster. It does not work here for Mercedes, though, Jake. Remember, it tightens up. This is a modern-day section, but it's almost been made to mimic the old school section at Sachs Curve. And with just the fact that it's almost identical, apart from the first left-hander, it really is tough to make some moves here. Timothy Reed looking to make moves, just going around there of what used to be the Mobile 1 curve, but no sponsor nowadays. It's just a standard number as Timothy has to hold off Josh Bray.
Yeah, it's just turn 11 now out there as Timothy Reed works his progress, tries to figure out now where he is going to have to defend out there on circuit, because he's at risk of dropping the train, and we see it so often. The train opens up and closes in a field that's been getting stronger and stronger. When was the last time you saw Joran van Hicks in P8 without any issues?
Well, I'm glad you said without any issues, because it has been a while. And I know that earlier in the week, oh my word, he almost went to the back of Joni Hagner as we're watching Jacob Reed making his way up the field, getting past David Ricciardi. And this is kind of him doing a Valenteus. He doesn't have a lot to worry about today because he knows Valenteus is in a battle, so he's just going on. Let's have a look at a quick replay of this is Gabbiani. And I think Gabbiani just comes out the soot curve here. The car's already sliding. He tries to catch it. He goes into the side of Manuel Novoa. And that's unfortunate there. Manuel would have had no idea what was going on there. And that's a big one.
Vieira has had a big issue down at the Spitzkehrer. He's caught Cal Young under braking, and the pair of them have gone straight on. I think Aldris Valenteus was the one who had to go straight on and open the steering too, so that's really given the free kick to Noel Lundberg. He's a second and a half clear, and here's Ruola having to scrap now back in P12 with Cal Young and Martin Krejcirek on the back.
Yeah, big time incident there, and it just looked like everyone had just got himself a little bit. Look at the replay here, and you'll see Valenteus at the front. There is the car, and he starts to lock it up. Then Villerola starts to go a little bit too hot. The age-old adage that you can see the smoke. You can never outbrake someone in a GTO, and he did try, but it caused such a concertina effect. Roller's going down the order. Valenteus managed to recover to P2. Noel Lundberg's on his own. That's big for the championship if Lundberg just gets ahead on his own, because in a race like this, usually endurance racing, the GTOs like to stay together. They're not together at the moment, Jake.
Yeah, So if they're not together, then they are knowing that this is going to be a field that stretches out and opens and becomes a huge drama for it. They know they've got to hunt Noel Lundberg down. It's 2.1 seconds. This is a case of inmates right now trying to work out whether I just want second or I want to go out there and win this race. It is that sort of position that they sit with at the moment. And again, as Gabriel Martinez sets the fastest lap, there are lunges down the inside. Joran van Hicks and Joni Hagner trying to go out there. And there's Mickey Friesen with the GTP-inspired GTO, who finds out the tough way that a position is going to have to be lost out there. And they will now be looking around saying, what more can I do? Fabian Youngbluth having issues then through turn 1 and a self-spin at the Nord curve.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the Nord curve. That was spin, probably running a bit too much curve out there. We're on board with Mickey Friesen, the Bane. He's got his B mask on. Name what you want. He's having some fun. He's being getting caught out from aggressiveness today. Something we're not used to seeing. Van Hicks being a bit of an aggressor today out there, as is Joni Hagner. So they can see what's happening, but Van Hicks having to just hold up because Hagner and Schuster going off. That was actually that was Gaglioli just in the gravel there for the GTPs we just missed there. But these guys are battling each other, not what we expected. That's allowed Valenteus to get a 1 second lead over everybody. Well, apart from Noah Lundberg, who's now 2.5 seconds ahead. This is going to be an interesting thing because Valenteus, the pace will come to him. And I'll tell you what I have seen, Jake. He's lifting. Dare I say it, Valenteus is going to try something that's impossible now, and I don't think he'll be able to, and that's a no-stopper.
Well, if he is trying to make that happen, it's going to be a long, long day at the office. And so you would certainly start to think, there's contact for the lead. And now they've got traffic to try and lap. So they get by Ian Haycox, Martinez holds. Brandon White as well, a little bit damaged at the moment. And for fourth, what? Jacob Reed already from 15th to 4th. We're only 6 laps in.
Well, welcome to White Jacob Reed. Like I've said for weeks, Jake, put the alien tag on him. Univan put the crash tag on him, sadly. That's a blown engine. An ominous paper, unfortunately, but it's black smoke. I think he's just had a moment there yet out of the Spitzkehrer. So just a small unfortunate moment. Sandberg battling them Reed. Well, I say battling. Reed is just absolutely on fire. Up 11 places today. Let's be honest though, Jake. I know I'm telling you don't be so surprised. I'm surprised it's taken him this quickly to get up the places.
Well, he's just been able to pick and choose where he wants to make those passes. And so he got a few done on the opening lap. There have been a couple spins, but look at the way he dances through the traffic there as he works his way through. He's doing 125 flats on his last lap. Only the leaders are somewhat comparable, but as they work by Jonny Berg and Henry Viramarchi, this will be a case of, right, this lap's going to be a little bit worse out there at the moment. 26.2 and 26.7, and they're now going to start hitting the bulk of the main frame of traffic here with 51 minutes and 17 seconds remaining.
Yeah, and this is the big time they're going to hit this. Oh, my word! That was Gabriel Martinez almost going into the back of Forben Pollock there. And you can see that the drivers just had to be a little bit aware. Jack now having to just wait his moment. He's going to be losing time up ahead of a couple of people. I say there's a couple of people. I just see Ville Roller drop. Ville Roller from the straight just dropped. Just absolutely dropped. In fact, I think F40 he's retired.
Yeah, so that will be Roller done, knowing that it's been a tough day at the office. There's nothing that has gone right over the start of this race, and so if it's not worth my time, I can't catch back up and fight for the win. There's no point. I'm not fighting for a championship. Goodbye, I'm done. So that will just make life a little easier for everyone around, but it will also mean that as Hagner is through now on Aldrius Valenteus for position, that as we watch Elena Jacques here try and cut his way through turn 11 and over towards turn 12 trying to follow, you just got to sit down and find the rhythm, and this is where it's tough for the GTOs because they do not want cars in the middle cutting up their group, and look at exactly what's happening right now. This is cut and paste sim racing.
Yeah, I don't like the CMV and CMP, but this is the issue right now. Is that section? It's probably the only set. It's probably the worst part of the track for the GTOs. They don't like flowing sections, and it just holds everybody up. And when you're in such a train like that, there's no opportunity to move. Lesachat lost a second and a half just by getting stuck in that traffic. Jacob Reed, however, well, he's just made his way up the field. There's Henning Swebbing. In fact, that timing tower's not wrong. He's only 6 seconds behind the leaders, Jake. And look at the traffic going up right now as Joni Hagner is now getting hounded by Andreas Schuster, and actually onto Valenteus, a little quick free wide, and everyone's now batting out to free wide.
Yeah, everyone's trying to find a way through, and this is what we call a case of rush hour here in Germany. We are in the Western Corridor, very near to Frankfurt, very near to the likes of places like Cologne and Dortmund, and also Gelsenkirchen as well, and straight through. Valenteus picks one up. Henning Schwebig just about clear. Jacob Reed cuts around the outside. They also had the lap traffic of Gianluca Gabbiani that they had to get through. Von Hicks has now got a run to get a move right now, as there is Davide Riccardi trying to work a battle through the middle, and they will cut to the outside here with Timothy Reed and Fabian Youngblood as well, and now take the inside. This is as busy as it gets.
But there's a Camel Chaos! Valenteus has spun! Valenteus has been caught out, and there's carnage getting caught out as well from the 31 of the David Ricciardi, had nowhere to go, and Valenteus' day is done.
Well, this is what happens when you're at the front. You are looking to try and get clear. Car in front of Gabbiani goes around, and then if there is a checkup at the front of a very large pack, you are going to get run over like you're in Pamplona at the running of the Bulls.
And that is just what happened there. Chari had to go, and he's managed to keep on battling. This is also actually a little bit of a moment when you think about it with Ricciardi. We talk about the juniors for the GTOs. What about the juniors for the GTPs? Because this has just changed things on a platter. Ricciardi was 29 points ahead of Dechari, and he's going to get no points now. That battle's going to go to the end. Cal Young, still, it is carnage. Just before I was about to say it, I was going to say everyone's favourite words, and that's the words. This is classic, chaotic IMSA Vintage, and that is unfortunately Cal Young with a mischief and Doug Cloud going into the back of it.
Yeah, so Doug Cloud now sits back and realises not what he wants out there in this one. He did not want to run up the rear, and now he'll look at the front of his car, and it is skewed up on the left-hand side. Oh, there was a GTP that's just gone off by them. That's Pedro Barbosa.
Yeah, I think Barbosa went a little bit too wide. Remember I said that you can go a bit wide, but there is a little bit of a sausage curve there. And I think he may have got caught out there just getting on the throttle a little bit too early. But now, interestingly, Doug has that, Cal has that damage, Doug has that damage, sorry. What's going to happen on these straights? Because you see this group now, Cloud, Young, Great Trick, Brain, Pollock. Look at this replay once again. This is Valenteus. He comes around. That's a slow GTP that misses his shift, and he's trying to lift, but he's lifting. He's not braking. Nowhere for the GTP behind to do anything. Valenteus does his best, and yeah, there's nowhere for Ricciardi to go there. That is so unfortunate. Dechari just makes it through on the left there, so does everybody else. Somebody had to pay the price there. Unfortunately, it's the junior GTP leader.
Yeah, so that really hurts, and there'll be a long, long ways yet after that GTP found itself around there at Barbosa and have to work back through the field then to get back. Cal Young then sits then in that 8th place and is trying to move on up the order right now. Oh, Matthew Cockerham then on the exit of the Spitzkehrer, and that might be just a little too eager on the power.
I'm just having a back a look at it. It was a bit too eager on the power. In fact, it wasn't even too eager on the power. He couldn't get the power back. He couldn't get the power down. Actually, could not get that power down and was spun around by Ian Haycock. Here's the replay. Ian gets a little bit wider, and there you should be expecting him to go. GTOs do get a little bit more speed on the exit of the corner there. And I don't think Matthew was aware of that, just getting caught out there. That is so unfortunate for him. And he's still driving, though, but he did decide to take a tow. Maybe just to get a little bit of damage. In fact, he's retired the car. A third of the field in the GTPs have now retired, Jake.
Yeah, that's something I think that goes a little bit understated here in this race, that when it comes to incidents out there, the GTPs are very much the car that are highly strung, the sort of car that is going to be very difficult to go and navigate your way through, to deal with all the problems, and will be something that breaks if you just breathe on it funny. The GTOs are very much built strong to last in terms of what they've got. They act almost like a touring car out there, and Jacob Reed has to check up the corner there thanks to Kyle Smith, number 50. Do you know there were 50 Kyle Smiths in iRacing?
Is there a record? We'll have to look for a record at some other time, because I'd love to know. That might be the biggest name, maybe even bigger than John Smith, or they're not going to be as big as Ferenc Grau battling Fabian Jungblöf, who they're not having the best of day, both of these guys. Grau down 4 positions, Jungblöf down 1 position, but now they're opening clear air, and this is now where the business end is, Jake. We're only 16 minutes into the race. I say that, Felipe Diaz has just taken a tow as well. 16 minutes into the race, it's going to be a lonely race with these GTPs, but because the field is so spread now, it's bubble racing and it's racing against yourself to just put in a fast stint between the pit stops. That's the only way you're going to make up some positions today.
Yeah, so positions are going to be hard to come by, and so you are looking at the way that you can go and grab that place back. So if you are going to try and make that happen, you are needing to have maybe a few more corners to try and make those passes. You're going to see that the gaps will open up quite a bit, that it has been chopped up quickly. Joran van Hicks has worked well with Johnny Hagner. This is second and third. Noel Lundberg out to a 7.5 second advantage right now in category. That is a light year at the moment for them, and they know that if it's just them two, they're okay at the moment. Lundberg 37.4, Hagner 37.4. Tough pace to chase.
Tough pace to chase. In fact, I think the fastest lap was a 37.044. Schuster just beat it with a 37.035. Josh Brain, the first car to come into the pit. That's not for repair. That is a pit stop. So he's the first one to dart in. Actually, no, that's actually a very quick one. Actually, correct me, that's actually a drive-through by the looks of it. He's coming for things. It's Noah Lundberg. What do you do to beat Lundberg right now? That's a 7-second lead, but you hope that the traffic holds him up. Not takes him out, holds him up, because right now both classes have a 7.3 second lead. Anything can happen. We're not even at the stage where a normal IMSA Vintage race length.
Yeah, and so if this is happening in the opening 20 minutes of racing action, you're going to add an extra 20 minutes out there compared to what you normally have. This is going to be a tough race. You don't want to be getting into trouble early on in these ones, because you'll take a lot more time out of it than you were maybe necessarily looking for. Krejcik is the one chasing, and Jacob Reed again happy to sit on the back of Christopher Lenejak here at almost 8 seconds off of the race lead, but here comes the chase, and once again, this is through turn 7. This is just a passing start corner over 255 kilometers an hour before hitting the brakes, and Jacob Reed did not dare want to risk it with Josh Brain in front, not wanting to see traffic get itself involved and potentially ruin the race. A great run off the exit though, back onto the drag strip, and here comes the chance again. Long way searching isn't going to work, but again, outside line it's going to have to be heading to the Sachs curve, the banked corner here on the left hand side. Another car in front will get in the way. That's Brandon White.
Yeah, Brandon White, and he has to start turning in left. Has to start turning at some point, and Jacob has to just lift. And Jacob playing it calm at the moment. He knows what the corners are. Remember, he's got that Formula 1 pedigree, so he has driven this track a few times. He understands what to expect out here. So I think he's just waiting for his opportunity. He knows it's early days. He probably feels that in clear air, his pace is good enough to catch up to Martinez. And there is Gabriel Martinez. He's 7.5 seconds ahead of everybody. And that's a big gap, even for IMSA Vintage. But remember, this is not a normal IMSA Vintage field out here today, Jay. No Balanteas. Jacob Reed had to go up the order to try and get that lead. Remember, it took him 6 laps to get up to the top 5. No, well, 7 laps later, he's only 3rd. Just goes to show how much he's having to fight right now. So anything can happen here. Battles can still change. This is the only other battle right now in the GTP, as Tachari is looking to try and close that junior lead. But Ayuso is giving him quite a run for his money.
So that run, I think, is going to be very, very important, because here goes Alessio Ayuso to the inside, trying to make this one happen in the silk cut colours. And Emilio Dicciari on that outside run, he's going to need to drive off the exit. There's not really much in terms of elevation to help, but it's pure pace that's needed, and the clearance is there. But there comes the send back from Dicciari. Is it going to be a bit deep through the corner? Slightly, but gets away with one. Outside again, searches by Alessio Cayuso and is stymied once more to try and find this move. There's tiles of corners here around this Hockenheimring circuit, Craig, are all about, can you go and attack off the next one? Because it's not just a case of one corner gets the job done here.
Yeah, and you saw when you saw Jacob Reed do that same thing going into AMG and the stadium, was he decided to just lift off because he knew he could get a tighter line for a run down into that turn 10 section at the stadium. He knew he could do that, but what Dicciari did there, he tried to go around the outside, and while he did have to lift, he gave himself enough space to be able to just outbrake, and then with how tight that section now goes, well, he was just able to just use that to advantage to cut off any momentum Ayuso had, maybe not on purpose, but enough to make it done. And now with 39 minutes to go, he is going to have to wait for his opportunity. Gabriel Martinez is in traffic. He's coming to the front of the GTOs, and he hasn't lost a lot of time out here. 7 seconds still the gap. That's quite a surprise, because Gabriel can lose time in the traffic compared to Lezacak and Jacob Reed, really putting his chops out there today, trying to find the opportunities.
Well, he's got to try and make sure that, given the platform that this race has given him the opportunity for, he has got to try and build as much time as he can. Knowing that Elena Jacques and Jacob Reed here are holding himself steady, I do spy Mickey Friesen into the pits. Now, that's the first stop of the race.
Yeah, Friesen's had enough. I think he's decided he has to do this right now. Now, does he take tyres? Because it's so early in the race, the free tyre stop? No. Now, that's interesting, Jake, because usually a free tyre stop, if you pit later in the race, can help you. But he's decided he's going to run with those tyres to the rest of the race. So the end of the race may be a little bit tough on the tyres. But Jacob Reed and Lezacak, while I've been talking, still going side by side. Jacob Reed, I don't think you can go around the outside of Spitz curve here. Lezacak will fight this, and he's going to try this. He's going to try this. It gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. And somehow, with the pull on a very good first gear, get that move done around the outside of the Spitz curve.
Yeah, round the outside. It's allowed to be done, and he's done it absolutely brilliantly with that pass. Elena Jacques now sits in line. Jacob Reed now is going to be up to second, and he's immediately getting on the power. Passing Joran van Hinst. We took a look behind in the 007 cam, and he got an easy corner by comparison there. Elena Jacques having to move to the outside, and then with Johnny Hagner again, he's going to be balked right through the running of the corner, and he's going to have to be patient on the exit. Jacob Reed immediately gets his clearance.
I hear the cork popping in the champagne bottle, and that's not saying Lezacak is holding him up. But Reed found the spot, and now with the traffic working his way, they would have just pull ahead big time. And Lezacak is now just trying to make sure he holds off Twivig. But here's Yoni Berg. Another battle been going. The GTOs have been close all day, like GTOs are. But Yoni Berg loses out to Josh Brain right now. Henry Mackie still there as well, and these guys battling for what is technically 12th position. Mickey Friesen just up the road, but he's already taken his pit stop. The rest of the drivers will need to take pit stops out there today. Josh Brain, actually, he has already taken his pit stop. We thought it was a very quick one at 27 seconds, but actually, if you compare to what Mickey Friesen's done, Jake, at 28 seconds, yeah, no, Josh Brain has already taken his pit stop. That's a surprise that early in the race.
So, this early, making a stop, that would indicate to me that I want to be out of the drama, I want to be out of the traffic, and I want to fight my way through to the end. So we call that doing the opposite, the reverse. So most drivers will look out there, Craig, and go as long as they can. Brain gets a great run then on Henry Viramaki, comfortably takes the pass. But if there's going to be so much trouble early on, it might be good to get yourself out of it.
Yeah, and we know how tight this track is. We've talked about it all day, and we also know that the GTOs like to work in groups. Now, sometimes that works for the drivers working in that group, but with the way the traffic's been going today, and just look at how this is Ferenc Grout still battling here with Fabian Newland, and also Brendan Lim, as well. You can just tell that the drivers have to be careful where they're looking where to turn, and we've already seen two big pile-ups in the GTOs. One caused with multi-class traffic, So maybe the early stop will work. So later in the race, keep an eye on where Mickey Friesen is when the top runners go in. He wasn't battling right at the front, but I reckon he might get a podium spot here. Maybe a surprise P2. Ferran Grau would love to get on the podium right now, just trying to get past Brendan Lim.
Well, he's got to get back up into 6th position first as Ferran, because he's down there in that position and trying to work his way up. And Brendan, who has been ever consummate in races like these at just finding a way to give himself a gap, give himself some progress to work with, he is going to be someone who is doing a pretty decent job of it, but he runs wide. He outcooked himself there at the Spitzkehrer. That was easy there for Ferran Grau. It's as if he had a Staples button.
Yeah, the problem is with Brendan Lim right there, with Brendan was expecting the GTO to take the normal racing line. And the GTO decided, well, I'm just going to get out of the way. But the GTPs have already made their decision, and Brendan played it safe. Playing it safe did not work out for him today. And Andreas Schuster hasn't been playing it safe today. Already up 2 positions. And hello, that lap car traffic almost just causing damage to Van Hicks right in front there. And I do wonder if there is any damage. He's clear. It's not been the week to remember for Van Hicks after last Sunday, other races going on. And I just feel that he would like at the moment to just be able to put his elbows out and not get any damage.
Yeah, just you're very much stuck in a position if you're Andreas Schuster where you've always sort of been in a place where you're close, and it's never quite close enough. It's never quite everything that you've wanted it to be and more. You know that you've got the pace of Hagner and Van Hicks and Lundberg, but it never seems, Craig, for Andreas Schuster like he can find the next moment to say, right, this is the next gear I need to be the driver that everyone fears.
Yeah, and he has that pace. He has that single lap pace. But you then come into the aspect of the race. You come into the pack racing. You come into the multi-class aspect. Because remember, multi-class racing, people do it all the time in iRacing. This is a different breed of multi-class racing. Because it's a type of multi-class where everything is just having problems out there differently. And Doug Cloud there, I was just looking at that while I was rambling. I think he may have got an unsafe pit exit there because the white lines here, Jake, you know yourself, are very straight.
Oh, one, they're strict, and two, as you go through, they tighten up to 1 car width wide as the track narrows up to turn number 2 out there, the Bernie Eccleston curve out there. So I think as you're looking around at that, it's tough for Doug Cloud. And so if he's done that, it's one of 2 things. Either it's unsafe pit exit, or 2, he got off of the pit limiter early and it's speeding.
Well, we'll have to see as well. It may actually also be a black flag for something else in the race, but there is an official time for him, so he didn't get that black flag entering the start, crossing the start-finish line. We'll have to get some information from him later on as Roman Bello goes through that lovely camber section at Sachs Curve. Love that section just for the camber there with Roman Bello battling on Fulton Hollick. Now they've seen Doug. Now they would see on the timing that it's not a full pit stop, and it was just him serving, or just going through. So maybe they won't be too afraid to make a reactionary pit stop right now. They're happy enough to go where they are. But they are also trying to catch up to Martin Krajcik 2.5 seconds up the road. At some point, something has to give. And if I'm Fulton Hollick, I'm thinking about pitting. And there goes Doug Cloud, officially with the black flag. Yeah, he tried to do a splash and dash, and then got that pit exit penalty.
Yeah, so that hurts, and so Doug Cloud's race now is going to really fall backwards away from where he wanted. Noel Lundberg here sits in this lead position, effectively 12th overall as far as this race goes, and will say, look, I'm having a wonderful time at things. I'm still 7 seconds to the good out there in front. Joran Van Hicks has lost the back of Joni Hagner, and so you're starting to think, well, if I can keep this pace up, no one's going to get anywhere near me out there today. It is one of those tough scenarios of racing where you look at Noel Lundberg, you play the cards which are there in front of you, and he got given a gap early and will now run with it.
Yeah, he got the play cards. He wanted to play his card. He played them right. He got an ace, and he decided to go lower because there's nothing higher than an ace, and he's doing so well. But this is the sort of race that he excels at. This whole endurance, and he's on his own. He's able to just keep constant laps in, keep the pace going, and he knows that even if he uses a little bit more fuel than the rest, he can keep that pace going all day, similar to what Jacob Reed does. He's just a constant with the pace, and him and Jack has sliced that lead down that Gabriel Martinez. Yes, Jack 2 seconds behind Reed. It's now a 4.5 second gap to Martinez, and we're just hitting the halfway stage. So you look at it, in the last 10 minutes, he's managed to slash that by half. Jacob Reed in the next 10 minutes, I think, when they come out the pits, will be able to just take the lead.
Well, 5 seconds, the margin out there, and Jacob Reed knows he's got to start hunting that down. But every car is going to be a huge difference maker in GTP. Every car you got a lap, it's the right place. That's what we call a modifier. It's not often that you get to see the front completely ripped off of a GTO, and you see all the working internals. I'm surprised it's still out there in a drivable state and allowed there by the iRacing stewarding team. Look at that engine.
Well, this is what the Audi would do for air cooling, right? I mean, they knew that the Porsche did air cooling, so why not just do their own version? Look, you can even see the airbox, the intake, you can see the valves. It's very nice to see, but he's been driving like this since that incident at the start of the race with Jack Welch. He caught all this damage. Thankfully, the hood completely came off though, Jake, and it wasn't just the hood just flapping into his window, but well, even the bumper is gone. I mean, at some point, iRacing has to say this is not safe because, well, in the real world, this is definitely not safe because that could put fluid everywhere.
No, it's certainly not, but we call that a modified in American speak in terms of racing. So Brandon White's doing what he can, and he is actually under pressure here from Henry Viramarchi then just behind, and they will soon have Brendan Lim and also Fabian Youngbluth trying to go around and give themselves the placement that is needed. So on the brakes, into the Sachs curve goes Viramarchi, and he holds a line, but he washes out there through the exit and allows Brendan Lim to jump through.
Yeah, did not like that for a moment. He was not happy. He just going a little bit too wide there, and that just allowed it. And then he had to just lift again for Fabian Youngbluth to go on by. So not looking good. And again, two drivers battling for that junior. Brandon White, he does have a almost 30-point lead with Viramarchi. But like in cricket, you win it in singles because Gabriel Martinez is trying to win this in single laps, still leading on. More drivers coming to the pits as well, Jake. Sandberg, Brown, Yachari, Barbosa. Basically now just the top 7 yet to hit the GTP, top 10 and then more in the GTOs.
Well, I'll tell you, there's only one person who doesn't know how to win in singles, and that's Travis Head, if you had any idea of what happened in the Ashes today. But Gabriel Martinez now a little bit boxed in behind Cal Young and Doug Cloud. So gets by Young. Cloud, he just manages to get through now, heading to the Sud curve as he now works through the final corner. So he gets the clearance necessary, but oh, Brendan Lim, that's a long way off.
Brendan, where have you gone? That's not a drag strip there. I wonder if he's had a little bit of a hardware problem. In fact, he went straight on. So that does look like he's probably had some sort of problem there, and he's actually struggling. I think, he's towed it. That, to me, is a hardware problem. That's heartache. He was running so well up there, trying to get a top 5. Nowhere to go. And Gabriel Martinez, he's decided Christmas is now. It's time for a light show.
Yeah, so flash about, try and find a way to the inside, and Gabriel Martinez will get the clearance sorted on Gianluca Gabbiani. And so look at Jacob Reed. He has hunted an 8-second gap down to just 2.4 in the space of the last 10 minutes. So he is absolutely on it. Oh, and he shoots the gap. Oh my goodness me, a gap just as wide as Jacob Reed's car through Joran van Hicks and Jack Wells.
Well, how much tights do you want to go? That's a massive gap there. Well, it wasn't, but it was a small enough gap, but he knew he could take it. And now Jacob Reed is starting to close the gap, even though he lost a little bit of time there. His pedigree through the traffic, and that just goes to show. He is almost, as not to be so cliche, one with the downforce. He understands what to do, and he's doing it so well at the moment. He's just finding those chances. Gabriel Martinez just had to go de facto 3 wide to get ahead, and you can see Gabriel Martinez is struggling as he goes past Colombo. So that's interesting. Joni Hagner hits from P3 in the GTO. Gabriel is under pressure, and just to give an update, Brendan Lim, it was hardware failure. That was a disconnect wheel.
Yeah, that hurts. His wheel died on him, and he was very fortunate in that sense to be on the straight there, heading to the turn 7, so he could abandon that on what we call the outer layout. So there's not much help there from Dechari and Navoa then. Navoa's 4 laps down at the moment and is not letting anybody go. The clearance is there from Emilio Dechari, but he's going to have to legitimately make a pass here to go and get by, and he will get the clearance through, and he'll probably throw a hand out the window a la Daniel Juncadella and say, well, I'm in first.
Well, he was going for first, and that's what Gabriel Martinez wants at the moment, and you've got to feel you can get that show for charity, by the way, but this is not charity. This is not a charity case. Blue flags are not mandatory, and Jacob Reed a second and a half behind, and even Emilio Dechari been struggling to get past here with Manuel. Just going to have to wait through the camber. They go through the sacked curve. What has Jacob Reed got? Because he needs to find some more chances. 24 minutes ago, they've lapped the GTO field 3 times now, and I think there's going to be another one at least. So he's going to have to do it on raw pace. And I'm looking at the track map, Jake. There's not a lot of free places at the moment. Half the track is full of GTOs.
Yeah, so if half the track is that, and so he'll realise that he's got the toughest job out there. The GTOs are going to be needing clearing, time and time and time again. And as I walked into this and saw the strength of field, 9 of the top 10 iRacings, Craig, are GTO.
Yeah. This is actually a crazy. It's a 3.196 strength of field for the GTPs, 3.714 for the GTO. Granted, that does help when you've got Valenteus, who was 8.7k, but going to be losing that 7 after today's race. And you've got a couple of 6k drivers here. But Jacob Reed, the only man in the 7s for the GTPs. Ayuso comes into the pit. Reed is also there. So this is now the top 5 yet to pit in the GTP. All early pit stops at field. I feel they can do another lap or 2, and that's probably what they're going to do. The GTOs, the sky's the limit right now. Mello must be wishing they could just save some more fuel right now when he's just right behind these cars.
So right behind is Romain Bello, and now you can see that side-by-side that is going to try and work its way through. And it's going to be close on the brakes here with Torben Paulik, and this is what Yoni didn't want, pitting early. Getting caught in a battle that he knows he's got no business being in because he's quicker than them both. He'll get the run because slightly pinched was Romain. There's one, he's trying to lunge down inside of Torben Paulik. He can't quite get it there, so he had to really check up through the middle of the corner, and it's now going to need to attack off the exit. And again, a light dab of brake is going to temper the run slightly. So here's the look down the inside, easy, gets by both of them, but it would have cost him a bit of time trying to make sure the clearance was there.
Yeah, that's not what he wants to see. 27 seconds he went cone to cone. The gap right now to Noah Lundberg is 30 seconds. So P2 at the moment, you could say he's a net P2. If things work out, he's just going to have to help there, and that's going to help him as well. Krajcik comes into the pit right in front of him. Keep your eyes to make sure that was a clean pit entry. Pollock, sorry, not Krajcik. No, it was both of them, sorry, coming into the pit. And as well, so that's going to be very good. That helps Hagner. There's no cars in front of him now for a good long time. For the first time in a long time, he's got clear air.
Yeah, so all of that air is going to be there. So as these drivers have come in and decided to make those stops, now is the time to see the true pace out there of Johnny Hagner. Noel Lundberg hasn't really dropped any of that pace. He's on a 36.8 at the moment. Still half a second faster than Joram van Hicks and 0.6 quicker than Andreas Schuster. It's that sort of day. Jacob Reed, fastest lap, 24.2 right now on his 28th lap of the stint. He is desperate to get to Gabri Martinez, but Gabri is doing just, and I mean just, enough to hold this steady.
Well, Martin Krajcik just came out the pits and held up Jacob Reed. Cal Young hasn't gone into the pits yet, and he was kind of wishing that Andreas Schuster darts into the pits this time by, as he's having some issues out there, just trying to just work it. Now, Cal Young had a victory in his hands, could not get it. Either driver going into the pits, no. They're staying once again. And just look at the different lines. Some of these GTO drivers are really cutting the Sud curve there to really just tighten up the corner, probably get a better run. I'm not entirely sure, but it's got to hurt the tires out there. But meanwhile, you can just see it worked for him. Get that momentum up, has to lift a little bit here before they come to Bernie Eccleston. And is that a lockup I see from Schuster? You can start to see Cal, fastest lap of the race for the GTOs last time by 36.713. He wants this. He's desperate. He's going to get it as he goes side by side.
Well, I wouldn't say so just yet, but Schuster's lifting off the power slightly, running through on the run on the Parabolica towards the Spitzkehrer, and so that's how it is going to sit for the time being. This isn't the old school circuit in the sense where you'd have 3,000 miles of straight with just one tiny chicane that will stop you with the brakes and the tyres going cold. This is a lot more technical of a Hockenheimring than what we saw through the 80s and the 90s. This from 2002 onwards has been a very tough circuit to get right at the best of times, and is why all the German manufacturers see this as one of an important place to go and make sure they're testing. There's a reason why they've got a Porsche testing centre and test track on the inside of this course.
Yeah, and it's a well-populated track and a well-populated little thing there. Look at the DTM Championship that have been decided here, that has happened here. Look at the F1 that's happened here today. Look at the IMSA Vintage race that's going to happen here, because Gabriel Martinez, he's getting held up by Mickey Friesen. Still getting held up by Mickey Friesen. Here comes the Worcester man, Jake. And finally, Jacob Reed. It's taken him not 20, well, it's taken him, what, 31 minutes? Finally, he's on the back of the leader.
But they've still got stops to think about, and all of this can be undone by a poor pit stop. So does he have to make this move on track? No. He can think about pitting, and actually on cue, he will do just that. He'll catch the back, he'll pit, and now he'll try and undercut him.
Perfect decision, because look at what Gabri has to get through right now. P8 Arturus Kundal, he gets held up there. He's going to have to hit Roman Bello on the exit of Bernie Ecclestone, so that's going to hurt him as well. This is not good for Gabri, and I wonder if he had decided that he was going to do the opposite to Jacob. Very tough when you're the lead man, but still able to. Look what he's got to get through right now. He'll have Sandberg, a lap GTP coming up ahead. Yeah, that P6 going to be lapped as well. So I wonder, is this going to work out for Martinez? And, well, when you do a hairpin like that, I don't think it is. Pressure's on.
No, so Gabriel Martinez now needs a little bit of a luck of the draw to go and make this work. With Anders Sandberg, he's got to clear, and Jonny Hagner, he easily dispatches of Hagner, but now Anders Sandberg, I think, is going to be the important one. Remember, you don't just jump out of the way like you would do in a Formula One race. This is effectively endurance style, or IMSA style racing, so they are advisory. Of course, they do have to help facilitate to get out of the way, but it is just an advisory caution in order to say, look, you've got the leader behind you, we can wave the blue flag, but it's not going to do anything in the context of this race. You've still got to earn the pass if you're Gabriel Martinez, who stays out again.
Well, that's surprising that he stayed out. You would have thought as well that he knew the pace was not good this time. He's had to be behind Sandberg, held up a couple of times by the lap traffic, and I do wonder if this is the right decision. Jack stays out as well, but he's battling heading Swebig right now. So I wonder if he's just deciding to go as long as he can to try and bait Swebig. Yes, the gap's 2 seconds, but anything can happen in those pit stops. And Jacob Reed, interestingly enough, 34 seconds cone to cone. It's the fastest pit stop today for the GTPs. Mind you, everybody else has taken damage or also got an unsafe pit entry.
Yeah, or Gabriel's just had contact down at the Spitzkehrer with Jack Wells, who wasn't going to move out of position there as much as Gabriel wanted. It was from a long way back into the corner, and the moment that happened, it was committal needed to go and make that happen. Gabriel Martinez there is right at the level of desperation.
That's a late lunge. I'm sorry, that is a very late lunge. At some point, those GTOs have to turn in. And I feel Jack was probably already turning into the corner there. And I wonder if that's what's happened as we go quickly straight back to where we are. He's managed to get past to Anders Sandberg. He's managed to slow down a little bit after that speed, but that's a big-time moment. Gap now between him and Jacob Reed. In fact, he had to come into the pit. It was a 23-second gap there. A 28-second gap, sorry. I feel Jacob will be getting that lead.
And this is what happens. You find the wrong car at the wrong time, and suddenly all that hard work at the front goes away. We know that Jacob Reed will have to encroach on that at some point in this race. He'll have a couple of cars in front of him as he works through the Sachs curve out there through now the small kink right and left of the motordrome, and now through in towards that sud curve to see it. Martinez still on the jacks, waiting to come off of it and get back up to speed, as in also comes the likes of Henning Schwebig, but Jacob Reed, oh, it's G-O-N-E and gone. He's gone by a mile.
I just need my rangefinder. I can't even see him. No, I need a new rangefinder for my golfing game, because that's way too far. Gabriel Martinez is now 4.5 seconds behind Jacob Reed, and he took fresh tyres, and he's having to get those tyres up him a second longer, cone to cone in the box, or actually in the box as well. I wonder if he took too much fuel there. Jacob is banking on himself being able to just stay behind the traffic. I think Gabriel just played a little bit of a mistake there. Probably keep that P2 though, because the gap between him and Schwebig is about 10 seconds. Should be okay there though.
Yep, so that should be all right, but we know that Elena Jacques trying to extend this long. There's only so far he can go in the later phases of this race. This has been a tough race for GTPs out there. That those that have been allowed to survive in a race like this have been critical. Christophe Elena Jacques then sits himself down and says, right, okay, this is where I need to now look at the final stages of this race, and this is what I need to unlock. This is as perfect needs to be, and Noel Lundberg right now, with that race lead, he knows that he's got the gap still at 8 to 9 seconds. Joran van Hicks can't hold a candle in the wind today. Noel Lundberg has had a simply wonderful season.
Well, goodbye, French's GTO, because you've done a fantastic blind of a race today, a fantastic season. We don't want to start saying, is this the season? I'm going to knock on wood when I say that, because it just needed a few races in the season for it all to work for Noel Lundberg. He just needed that. He was originally just got a few wins every now and then. He just needed to just string them together to get the confidence, and we're seeing it this season. And after what happened last week in VIR, finally took that lead. He had some great consistency. Consistency in the GTO, Jake, is absolutely key because of how competitive it is, and that's what he's delivered.
Yes, so as he is delivering this, he knows how critical the race has been. He knows how this championship has gone for him, and he knows that as he has stood with the lead of that championship, he has been fighting tooth and nail with Joran van Hicks. This, the first time that gap has opened up, has been pretty sizable. And so if you're seeing that gap opening up, if you're Joran van Hicks, there will be days where you are just second best, as in finally comes Christophe Elena Jacques to make his one and only pit stop of the race. But, you know, what can you do in a situation like this except I'm going to have to take my loss here and move on to the next time around?
That's all he has to do, is just accept it. He has to just keep on going and accept that the days are not going to be there. It's so unfortunate for him. He has done so well, but unfortunately he's just unable to just find it today. Jacob Reed's found that magic as well, so that's going to be one that just a great win, because last to first, granted he wasn't last, but he was still unqualified. That's just a big success story. As Ayuso, just other stories, Ayuso takes a tow. Kundalas, we just saw, takes a pit stop. Alenza Chat did pit, came out 2.5 seconds ahead of Schwebig. Peter DeFeo is now the next car to take a pit stop. So it's all happening, 11 minutes to go, and everything is happening at the final here. No gaps in the GTP's report though.
No, so there isn't really anything here in GTP now left in terms of massive close gaps. Henning Schwebig, I think, is the closest to Christophe Elena Jacques. That's only about 2.4 seconds, so we can go to GTO and note that Mickey Friesen here is in a little bit of a scrap with Candelis down in the pits, and in the pits for a long time. He's now looking to try and get by Timothy Reed here for position. So here comes the run trying to get by. Mickey is not going to be close enough in the purple and the white, but he knows that Timothy Reed is there and that Timothy Reed is comfortable at this moment in time, saying, look, I'm going to have an ability to try and stave this off, and knowing that every point counts, Mickey Friesen would love to find a way through, and he just tries to work his way to make it happen. Now, we do have a driver, Ian Haycox, with a black flag, and I think that will be for incidents.
Yeah, it looks like it is incidents as well. Viramaki is well taking a black flag. That's a big deal for Viramaki because number one, he's got the pit. Number two, Brandon White, the junior championship leader, is behind him. And any chance he wanted to try and just etch away to try and get some of those points closed up, it's just gone. And they've almost got one hand on the title now for Brandon White for the GTO Juniors. Viramaki, this is not the day for him. He was doing so well, just where he was battling, holding off Brandon White. But he's got to make 2 pit stops now, one for the black flag, one for the pit stop. No way you can short fuel, single no stint this, sorry. Unfortunately, that could be the championship done and dusted in the juniors.
Yeah, so that makes all of the difference, and Viramaki knows that now as he comes into the pits, we're seeing the differences out there with the juniors compared to the full standings out there now. And Brandon White here, who sits in that 13th position, is still making his way through, is still just dealing with what needs to be happening here. You can see how crunkled the bonnet is right now, that number 36, just quietly making that progress here and thinking, right, where do I need to be finding every little thing to make sure that finish is going to be there? And now finally, Noel Lundberg pits.
Callion pit, Schuster pit, Lundberg pit, Van Hicks doesn't pit, and that's interesting. I think he may just be resigning himself to the fact that probably won't have the victory today and try to just solidify a little bit of clear air. In fact, I'm just looking at the track map. I don't blame him one bit. It's actually a very nice, clear section for him. So do what you've got to do. As we keep on going, this is Lundberg now out of the pit right away. Gap between him and Van Hicks, 14 seconds. So yeah, unless Van Hicks is trying to do a note stop, which people are going to tell me I'm talking rubbish, I don't think it's possible. Arturas Kundalos as well back into the pit. Or yeah, he's just a second disconnect. The only hack that goes on. By the way, we saw Brandon White. Remember, he was driving a modified. That hood now crimpled. Do you think they just found the hood on the side of the road and just put it back on? Because they haven't fixed anything else out there, Jake.
No, it definitely looks like they found the hood discarded on the side of the road. They picked it up and went, oh, we don't have enough time to get the panel beaters on it. Let's just stick it back on. It's almost like the straight got back there. And the move done now by Mickey Friesen. That gets him the move sorted. Then here on the likes there of Timothy Reed, while they've got Navoa and Youngblood and Ian Haycock's there in and around. So that a critical move. You don't want to be getting and dealing with that, and sometimes you have to take an off track there, like Fabian Youngblood did, to get all the way to the outside to get the clearance.
Yeah, Mickey Friesen probably just thought his life flashed in front of him for a split moment there. Jon Van Hicks comes into the pits to see on the timing tower. He's in, but Mickey Friesen now having to not only just hold off Timothy Reed, but hold off the wave of GTPs coming on by. But as Van Hicks goes into the pit, Lundberg retakes the lead. Question is, where does Van Hicks come in turn of Joni Hagner? Keeping our eyes on Joni. Where is Van Hicks? And I tell you what, Joni Hagner's got that. It's not a GONE like we saw earlier. Get the rangefinder back out in just a second. That battle's on for the final 7 minutes.
Yep, so Joran Van Hicks, who extended that out as long as he possibly could, tried to find himself then the chance of moving himself back through, tried to stay with Joni Hagner. He's managed to find a second on Joni, but Joni here still has the margin, and so now this becomes an eternal chase, and when you've only got 7 minutes, that's not long to get it back.
Not long, and sometimes that's why drivers like to pit early, so they have all that breathing space. So maybe they're able to, but right in front of these guys, that's 2 cars having a little bit of a battle. Peter DeFeo, Jack Wells, right in front of the leaders, having their own battle in this race as Jack goes on by. That could cause issues here for Joni Hagner. He would have loved to extend that gap over Van Hicks. Not going to happen right now, because Van Hicks, yes, there's a GTP, but Van Hicks is able to catch up right now.
Yeah, so Van Hicks wants to chase, but look at the margin here. Look at the difference for Joni Hagner. He just commands the corners. He's through on Peter DeFeo, and now there's cars in between. And at 1.2, it stays that gap of making life so tough, so difficult, so desperate to try and find that next stage. And again, the brakes needed as they go now, heading towards that Sud curve to end out the lap once more. But my oh my, this is where you're going to be in that next stage, and so you are right in the next scenario of, can you ride the traffic out as the slower car to to chase it down, but Hagner, a couple of tenths of a second, happy with what's needed.
Yeah, and if anybody else, 5 positions gained and a podium would be something good for Van Hit. Unfortunately, his championship rival Lundberg is in P1. Championship points are starting to spread out, and he is looking for a little bit of help out there right now. As the gap between Hagner and Lundberg has come down 5.5 seconds, but I think it's too much too late there. So this could be everything, as Yoni again locking up the tires into the hairpin, but Jack Wells is between them. Jack is not close enough for Van Hicks to really compete for a move here, and that's fine right now. He's not trying to force the issue right now. He's just waiting, and woo, a little bit of a moment there. Almost got into the back there, Van Hicks and Wells, but Wells pulled over. Gachari Sandberg now battling for P6.
Yeah, so the difference is being a lap means a lot in this race, and it's tough. Look at the rear wing there of Anders Sandberg. That is pretty much an art piece rather than something that's going to be helping him on downforce, and so he's really having to scrap that number 21 as close as possible.
And he's been driving like that for about 6 laps. No idea what happened to him as Noah Lundberg just keeps on up by, but if it's damage at the rear, usually you've caused a moment, and in fact it was a lockup at the hairpin with Barbarossa going into the back of him, but he's kept it going. But where's the downforce? Where's the top speed? He's about 4 seconds off the pace right now. That's not what you want, and he's just going down the order. This man's not going down the order. He's got nowhere to go but up. Can't do anything more than keep going up.
5.3 seconds for Noel Lundberg over Johnny Hagner at the moment, and critical in his championship to get this result. Sandberg now and Acharya both a lap down on Jacob Reed. You can see him there in the front of shot, but Sandberg isn't necessarily getting close. Now they're going to start interrupting Timothy Reed and Mickey Friesen's attempt out there to battle it out there. So there is a lot right now which is saying I can do what's needed. Friesen then gets the clearance, and it's very much a case of late stage racing is going to make the difference. But Noel's championship run right now, this is what he's been waiting for season after season after season. He has been saying, look, this is my championship battle, this is what I've been hoping to get, and not everybody has been able to say with confidence that, look, I can be looking for my 6th win of the season and do so with a driver who has only won once, but has had the ability, Craig, over the course of this season to just be podium almost every time.
And that's what you need in this championship. You need to be in the podium. The moment you get off the podium is a moment you can almost say championship over. So it is vital you keep on fighting, and that's what Lundberg has done. Consistency is key, and it's the endurance man. It's the man that loves these longer races, loves the longer straights, loves the slipstream. Really starting to work in on a track that is a technical track and a challenge for everybody. With 2 minutes to go, and I'm going to say probably 2 laps to go, he has driven a blinder of a race, and apart from the start of the race, he's been unfazed by anybody.
Yeah, so you look around and say, if you've not been fazed by any issues out there, it's been a great job. It's been a great race by Christoph Alenishak, but if he wanted to jump ahead of Gabriel Martinez, he needed a bit more today, and he's just not quite found it. But you have to say, a podium has been, or is looking like, a great result. Black flag for Gabbiani.
Gabbiani with another black flag. That's unfortunate. I think he was trying to get back out to try and salvage a little bit of points there over Ricciardi for the juniors, but it's not going to help him right now. But Lesacek, what a drive today. It's unfortunate, started pole, down 2 positions though, but still another podium. Technically, he's in that fight. He is in that fight a little bit, but mathematically, he's out of the equation. He's trying to make sure he gets that podium over Martinez overall. There goes Gabri. Gabri's a point ahead, remember. But today, it's going to be more than a point ahead. Lesacek's going to have to hope for the rest of the season he can get past the flying Spaniard.
Well, Gabriel Martinez has just done what he's needed to today. The traffic is giving the gap back, though, to Jacob Reed, as there is Barney waving the white flag and saying there is 1 lap left in this race. Jacob Reed, who knows that today the championship was not anything that needed to be concerning. Knowing that Aldrius Valenteius was going to run in GTOs, he now sees himself in a position of confidence, pure confidence out there. Yes, he had a confidence knock yesterday in the Grand Prix World Tour, despite winning that race over at the Autodromo Internacional Algarve. But this is a bounce back for him, knowing that at least he'll have this championship, that he's put the focus on in prototype, and he has done nothing wrong except for the fact that he didn't qualify the car. So he looked through the work that he's done on this hour. He has waltzed his way past each and every single driver out there, and Gabriel Martinez has been the closest chaser out there to his day. But as far as this one will go, there's a bit of smoke there in the back, and it's Jorn van Hicks who has spun around on the last lap and has dropped a place to Cal Young. It will be now the Sachs curve for Jacob Reed. He will now know that his championship is almost under lock and key, but as he heads to the Sud curve, simply masterful. The data scientist decides that it's his concoction that comes up best today at Hockenheim. It's his.
Great drive from Jacob Reed, holding off a late charge from Martinez. Gets it done. Valesacek is going to hold off a late charge from Swimming to get that victory done in Nürburgring. Gets the GTO in dominant fashion out there. Hagner will get the P2, and that battle for third. Cal Young will get it there. It was actually a spin, actually an overtake the lap before, but Van Hick tried to do a late lunge onto Young. They did come together, and unfortunately, well, that's what Van Hicks feels about the moment, but holds off Andreas Schuster. Everybody else comes across the line, and it does feel like there's not a lot left out there in terms of battles, but everybody can say that they've just finished. Nova, probably going to be the last car to cross the start line.
So with Navoa crossing, it's a wonderful day. Lundberg deserving that, and I can only say that this has been a day for the championship leaders to extend their margin, and with every reason they will be happy. Craig King will have the rundown of the official classified results and your post-race.
Oh, apologies for not having the cough filter on the microphone there for a moment, but Jacob Reed, as we were just saying, is our championship leader and our winner today, up 14 places, as he didn't have a qualifying time out there today. He gets the victory ahead of Gabriel Martinez, with Christopher Lesacek in third. Then it's Henning Swebek in fourth, with Fabian Jungbluf into fifth. And Emilio Dicciari, what a drive for the junior driver. He gets that sixth place. Anders Sandberg will be seventh. Brendan Lim does recover to eighth after the wheel issue. Pedro Barbosa will be ninth, and Manuel Novoa will be 10th. Into the second page, David Ricciardi will be 5 laps down, still driving, but he does finish in 11th. Gianluca Gabbiani took a black flag and had to retire in 12th. Ayuso retired in 13th. Ferenc Grau, 14th, retired as well. Felipe Diaz retired down in 15th, and Matthew Cockerham 16th. Federico Gaglioli will be 17th. Fabio Dam, well, if you're Ron Simmons, that's the name of the game today. He finished in 18th, unfortunately, for the GTOs. What a drive for Noah Lundberg. So close now to the victory of the championship. He gets the victory over Joni Hagner, and Cal Young will be third after some late incidents there. Van Hicks finishes in fourth, with Schuster right behind him in fifth. Then the first man to lose positions, Mickey Friesen, down 2 into 6th position. Timothy Reed will be 7th, with Josh Brain in 8th. Roman Bello 9th, and Martin Krajcik up 8 into 10th. Also up 8 in 11th, Forban Pollock, last man on the same lap as the lead GTOs. Doug Cloud will be 1 lap down in 12th, with Brandon White. Big battle there for the juniors. He comes home in 13th. Henry Viamaki will be 14th. Then it's Ian Haycox in 15th, and Yoni Berg 16th. Then Jack Wells had an issue at the start of the race, came back out 2 laps down in 17th. Peter DeFeo will be 18th, and Carl Smith 3 laps down in 19th. And then we get to the retirees. Arturus Gundas, we're just saying there in 20th, just missed him off that page. Valenteius, early retirement there with Ville Roller. And then Sami Uveden also taking an early incident there, an early retirement. So that sorts out the championship, the results, sorry. We're going to have one chat to, well, realistically, I think there's only one man we could talk to right now who's important enough. It's Emilio Dicciari. And Emilio, first of all, we got to talk about the championship, because that P6 must be so helpful for your junior championship over David Ricciardi.
Well, yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, very good race for me today. Unexpected because I don't feel very good with the car. So first of all, I want to thanks to Jack Wells because he gave me a great setup for the last minute, and it works very well for me. And we did a good race. Yes. The strategy works very well. I don't have any problems with the GTO today. I think, and yeah, for sure, this sixth place is perfect. It's the best broadcast result for me, I think, and yeah, it's very good. I'm very happy for this.
Well, we know you didn't have any issues with the GTOs, but there was one big issue out there that we caught you just able to avoid when Valenteus got tied up and caused a big wreck near the end of a lap early doors. You managed to take onto the grass. Were you aware of the spin, or was that a very late reaction?
Very late reaction, I think. Yeah, when I saw the spotter told me that there was problem ahead, and when I saw Aureus come back on the track, I have to react very quick, and I choose the left side. Maybe not the best because we lost the chance to be on the group and finish in the top 5. But we exit of that with no problem, and it was the very good point of this race, because if we don't exit well of that situation, the story will be different now.
Well, the endurance races are over now for the season. We go back to the sprints, and next week we're at Okayama, which is, for those that don't know, it's a free track. Do you have much experience? I think you do in the GTOs, but for the GTPs, you don't have much experience in Okayama. What are you expecting for there? Because it probably won't be as long and tough out here today. It's going to be a sprint race, remember. That's going to be interesting for you.
Yeah, don't have any experience with the Nissan and also with the Audi. It will be really interesting because it's a fun track, but it's very short in term. Well, for a multi-class race, obviously it's not. I don't think that is the best track, but we're gonna try our best. You know, today I don't have any expectation of the race, and we finish in P6, and well, we can have another good race there, and obviously. I think it will be an interesting race because no more strategies during the season. So yeah, it will be a fun race for sure, and will be interesting to see how the championship can continue, because this sixth place, as you say, is very important for me, and we can have our championship hopes alive after this race. So will be interesting, Okayama.
Be very interesting in Okayama. Emilio Dicciari, congratulations on a very well fought P6. We look forward to seeing you next week at Okayama, but until then, all the best for your weekend.
Thank you, Gray. Thank you to you guys, and again, thank you to Jax for the setup, and all the people who is watching this. My family, my girlfriend, and all my family is out there supporting me. Thank you very much.
Emilio Dicciari, though, finishes in 6th place in the GTPs. And that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen, after a entertaining race. So if you can remember, if you like what you see, give it a like button, hit that subscribe button as well. But I want to give a shout out, of course, to Jake Sperry, who's had to dip, Daniel Costello, and, of course, Dougie, as per usual. Because there is more racing happening this weekend. We've got one more race this weekend next, which is tomorrow. So I was going to say next day. It is tomorrow. Aragon Alta for the Classic Lotus 79. That's going to be fantastic to watch. And then we do it all again next week. MX5 United goes to Virginia International Motorway. And then the Skip Barbers go to Laguna. That's going to be interesting. Then Grand Prix Legends. Next Saturday, we do it all again in the weekend. The 49s go to Le Mans with no chicane. But we needed chicanes today. We needed an hour. We needed to find out who we were going to be. But next week, it's 40 minutes. Okayama. That's going to be very interesting. Remember, it's a free track. So if you want to give this a go, don't forget to check out the IMSA Vintage. And don't forget Black Friday as well. Because if you want to give this a go, you want to subscribe. And 50% off new members and 25% off renewals. I've done it. Have you done it? Because you've got to do it. It ends on December 2nd. You've got another 2 weeks before that ends. It's the biggest sale of the year on iRacing. But the biggest sale today, everything changes. Leaders extend, and in the juniors, new leaders. It's going to be interesting, Hockenheimring, next week, because anything can happen around this tight weaves of Japan. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, race hard, race clean, and we will see you on the track.
This is iRacing.